Hi, I'm Dr. Alastair Ping. I'm the founder of the Sacred Path School. So this little video, it's a little introduction or sort of an overview of the 8-week self-mastery challenge, which is a little course that I put together end of last year. So if you're like me, you've probably been pretty challenged by some of the events of the past 2 years, and maybe you found yourself in a situation where the sort of normal things that you've been doing, maybe exercising more, sleeping more, whatever, hasn't quite worked, and you're thinking, far out, what do I do to get on top of this crazy situation that we're in at the moment? So this is the 8-week self-mastery challenge, and just let me take you through it. So just let me click, here we go. Okay, so what is it? So as you can see there, so it's obviously an 8-week course. It consists of 2-hour Zoom session per week, small groups of 12, so we can hold each other accountable. And each week we'll address a key question, have a look at the theory. So what does the theory actually say? So it's very evidence-based and research-based. We'll have a reflective group discussion. So what does this actually mean? Does it make any sense, etc. Look at a key exercise that you'll start doing it in the workshop, but then have to go off and complete that yourself. And it's supported with readings and videos. And you can see the sort of central thinking around it. You can see there is the quote from Marianne Williamson. So you must master a new way to think before you can master a new way to be. And I would suggest to you that with the challenges that we're facing at the moment in the world, we need to find a new way of being. And as I said, that's really the challenge, is to see if you can learn how to think in a different way. And you can see down the bottom, so it's interdisciplinary. So it looks at neurocognitive science, existential philosophy, happiness theory, etc. I'll go through it in a sec. It's research-based, so it's not airy-fairy stuff. It's actually saying, what does the research actually say about how you do this? It's very practical and it's immediately applicable. So let me just take you through it. So, sorry, I just have to move this around. So you can see the 8 weeks. So in week 1, we'll have a look at existential philosophy. And if you're curious to know a little bit more about this, I've uploaded a short introduction to existentialism video, both on the YouTube channel and also on Thinkific. Week 2, we look at complexity and change. As I said, at the moment, we are in a pretty complex environment. That's what the US military called a VUCA environment, which is an environment which is characterized by volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. Week 3, we look at happiness and habits. Week 4, let me go back one, sorry about that. Week 4, look at collaboration and influence. And week 5, how do you reset? Because, I'm sure you're all aware that you go through periods where you completely lose the plot, and you have to find some way of resetting, pivoting back onto the good stuff, and also looking at leverage. So looking at what are the leverage points. Week 6, we review the system, or review your system, because as I said, the challenge is whether or not you can put together a system to help you achieve self-mastery. Week 7, look at the next big experiment, or your next big experiment. And then week 8, putting it all together. So let me just go through that in a little bit more detail. Because as I said, sorry about moving around the video, it's just so you can actually see it. So you can see, so week 1, so what we're going to look at is existential philosophy. So the central question is, far out, so what would you put in a self-mastery system in a complex environment? And as I said, this really arose from I suppose the challenges that I faced last year, as many people did, and also in working, with people doing executive coaching and also leadership programs, just finding that people were just overwhelmed by what was going on. So what would you put into a self-mastery system in a complex environment? And then the key exercise is to put together a holistic vision. So considering physical, mental, emotional, material, and spiritual. And then also to put together a daily practice, or your daily practice. Week 2, look at complexity and change. So how does a complex, uncertain environment affect us, and how can we change? So we'll look at complexity theory, intentional change theory, again, all research-based, evidence-based. And the exercise is to work out who is actually in your support circle, because again, we can't do this all on our own. And secondly, what is your key experiment? Week 3, we look at happiness and habits, because of course we would all like to be happy as we go through all this situation. So the key question is, how can we be happy? and how can we create habits that sustain us. So we look at some of the work of Martin Seligman on positive psychology, and also the research into flow. And then we'll look at the habit research. So how do we actually create habits that sustain us? And the key exercise is to put together a happiness plan, and then also to ask the question of how do you actually get into a flow state. Week 4, look at collaboration influence. So how can we collaborate with others for mutual benefit? And I would suggest to you that at the moment in the world, we are going through a massive paradigm shift, shifting away from social organizations and structures which are based on the principles of competitiveness, and shifting towards collaboration. So how can we work together for mutual benefit? So the exercise is, what is your collaboration plan and who do you want to influence? Week 5, we look at reset, pivoting and leverage. So how can you reset when you're off track? So what does the research tell us about, like, how do you find, like, what can you actually do when you're losing the plot? What does the resilience research tell us about, what we actually need to do? And then secondly, how do you find leverage points? So the exercise, as I put there, is what's your step-by-step process to get you back on track, so that when you're in that situation where, as I said, you're pretty much losing the plot, you have a plan ready to go that's going to allow you to reset and pivot. Week 6, we'll review your system. So what are the elements you need to put into your self-mastery system? So this is very much individual based. So it's recognizing that we're all different. We all need different things in our system, and we all have different ways of getting into flow. We all, some of us need lots of friends, some of us need little friends, a small number of friends. There's introverts, extroverts, etc., etc., etc. So it's not about telling you in a prescriptive way what you must do. It's looking at what does the research say, and how do you put together a system that's going to allow you to do that. So the exercise is to review and test your system. Week 7, you look at what's your next big experiment. So this is very much based on, again, existential philosophy and intentional change, and about recognizing that in a complex, changing environment, you can't work in a linear way. Basically, the brain wants to set and forget. So instead of doing that, what we need to do is embed these little circular feedback loops, which are very experimental. And if you've watched the Introduction to Existentialism video, in that I pointed out that the superpowers really in this are curiosity and gratitude. So when you're trying to change things or create something in the world, instead of thinking about, okay, this is the answer, a better way of going is to think, I wonder what would happen if I did this, and basically to run an experiment, and then you feedback, or you circle back around and see, did the experiment actually work? So the question is, what do you need to experiment with now that will give you the biggest leverage? And the exercise, of course, is to design that experiment. And then week 8, we look at putting it all together. So the question is, how does it all fit together? And if not, what's missing? And this is where it's really, really beneficial to go through the program with a group of people. As I said, we'll limit the groups to 12. So you have an opportunity to really connect with other people, like-minded people that are facing the same sort of challenges. And the exercise, of course, is to review all the course material and get ready to act, because, again, go back to that intro to existentialism stuff. You can talk about this stuff till you're blue in the face, but the critical question is, are you actually going to act? Can you act and actually do something about it? So what are you going to get out of this course? Okay, so at the end of the 8 weeks, you will have developed a holistic vision for your own well-being. You have developed an ideal weekly routine. You have a plan for taking responsibility for your own happiness. You will have identified people to support you. You have a reset process for when you're off track, and you'll be in action on an experiment for your self-actualization. So I hope that makes sense to you. So how to enroll with this? Okay, so individuals. My thoughts with this is run limited programs on Tuesday and Thursday evening, so 6:30 to 8:30 Australian Eastern Standard Time. So I know this is confusing, that's Brisbane time, right? So if you're in Sydney or Melbourne, add an hour to that, so it'll be 7:30 till 9:30. And of course, if you're overseas, work out the time difference, sorry. If you want to enroll, click on the link from the Facebook or LinkedIn pages. So there's a link there to email me, or email thesacredpathschool at acping.net. Also working with a limited number of organisations where obviously you can run programs at a time that's suitable for you. If you'd like more information about that, again, please email me at thesacredpathschool@acping.net. I'm also going to I am uploading more and more information to Thinkific, like short courses, and also on the LinkedIn page, the Facebook page, and the YouTube channel. All right, so I hope that makes sense to you. I hope that's a useful overview. If you want more information, as I said, feel free to email me. Until then, all the best. Thank you. Bye for now.